All right, guys, welcome back to Flutter Gang. Today we're going to be talking about just some of the eliminated teams and what they should be doing this offseason. But before we start that, I want to just do a quick run over of the what's going on in the playoffs right now. So let's begin with Knicks versus Heat. That game's going on today. It's a 1-1 series right now. Jimmy Butler was out game two. So I still think the Heat have the edge in that series. Whenever Jimmy plays, they've won. Granted, it's only been one game, but still. So what are y'all's impressions on that series so far?
Malcolm, you want to go first?
Um, they lost one game right now, the Knicks,
Mm-hmm.
and that was without Jimmy Butler, and the Knicks had Julius Randle returning, and they barely won. But I kind of did have this feeling throughout last series against Cleveland, they were not scoring very high points every game. It was not a very high scoring game. They had usually under 100, it would be like in the 90s, and they were just incapable of scoring without Brunson, Randall, or Barrett.
Yeah.
No one else would be a scorer on the court, which is a big issue for the Knicks, while you have the Heat over here that are scoring left and right. And Jimmy Butler's returning now. It's 1-1 in the series. The Knicks were home both two games now, and it's still 1-1. So I think the Heat, especially now with Jimmy back, they win all these 3-1, and I think they'll just bring home the next game too because they dominated when Jimmy was there. Anyways.
All right, Mark.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah, and I think that's interesting too because the Knicks won by 6 last game. Both teams are going to be really well rested. They played last on Tuesday, so 4 days of rest, 3 days of rest. So they all have plenty of rest. But the thing is, the Knicks won by 6 points. Randall had 25 points, 12 rebounds. Brunson had 30 points. Barrett had 24 points, and Josh Hart was 1 assist away from a triple double, and they still barely won. And that is the three guys that you need scoring, and that was without Jimmy Butler playing. It looks kind of problematic for the Knicks. Caleb Martin did score more than he normally does, and so did Max Strus because they had to step up. But I still think just looking at those numbers and them only winning by 6 is a problem for them, and they need to figure something out. I think scoring is an issue. They had a problem scoring against the Cavs too. I mean, the Cavs are a good defensive team, but just overall, the Knicks haven't been too great at scoring. The Heat have shown against the Bucks that they can score in bunches if they need to. And at this point, it might just be a matter of time until they do that against the Knicks, or the Knicks defense is just that good that they keep teams low, but their offense might not be high powered enough to win the series.
Well, one thing that Knicks did do, game one at least, they did not let Jimmy Butler beat them. I mean, Jimmy still had his 25. He still played great, shot efficiently, but they often doubled him. They denied him, and that's where the other people feasted. Like Gabe Vincent had a great game one. So that's what's also unique about Jimmy Butler. It's kind of like Steph Curry. He creates a lot of gravity, even if he doesn't have the ball. So he's going to open up opportunities for everyone else. I like the Heat in the series. At the beginning, before the series started, I really liked the Knicks, but if they can't keep up offensively, if no one else, Quickley has been terrible all playoffs long, really, but especially in this series, they're going to need some bench production. And if they don't get that, I don't think they need to win one game in Miami. I don't know if they're going to do that.
Yeah, I don't know if they will either. And Miami now took home court with that first win in New York.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm Miami, I'm feeling ecstatic right now. I mean, you won a game.
Yeah.
Jimmy was out, barely lost. Now you got 2 games in Miami. I think
Now
they're
you're back at home. Plenty of rest. Jimmy's playing.
Yeah.
Should be
looking
excited
good.
about
The
that.
Miami fans are quite the fans.
They'll get there 30 minutes late, but once they're there, they're hyped.
They're there.
Yeah. So let's move on to Golden State versus the Lakers. This series also 1-1. It's been a lot. It's been a lot different, I feel, than the Knicks Heat series, because I really don't know who has the advantage right now. So Lakers barely won game one. They got a great game from Anthony Davis. But also Poole, Clay, and Steph all had 6+ threes. Anyway, there was a lot of craziness going on in that game one. And then game two, Anthony Davis performed terribly. Yeah, he was terrible. LeBron,
terrible.
he had a great first half. Didn't do much in the second half. Didn't really have the opportunity
Yeah.
to. But so who do you think has the advantage in that series?
That's a tough
You want to
one.
go?
I think the Lakers should have the advantage, but with 80s inconsistencies, they do not have an advantage, I think. And I think because of that, it's a pretty even series because if you're Golden State, you're thinking, all right, we need to take 1 or 2 games where Davis is playing pretty well because we can expect 2, 3 games where he isn't doing good. And if we can win those, which we should win those a lot easier, we can take the series. Last game, AD did bad. Looney barely played. Um, AD needs to figure out how to play his even numbered games because he apparently does not like the even numbered games because those are the ones he's been bad at. I don't know what it is. Maybe he doesn't like even numbers, but something about those even games is just not for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and from my point of view, what I've seen, Klay Thompson was crazy game two. Absolutely insane. 7 for 9 threes,
8 for 10.
30 points, and he didn't even play the fourth quarter, and he didn't play too much of the third, I want to say. Curry had a great half, 8 points, 8 assists. I don't know his rebounds. But it's 1-1. The Lakers are home the next 2 games, and as we know, the Warriors are terrible away. They won a couple against the Kings away, but it's also the Kings. They have Sabonis, who I really don't think is too good for them, but we'll get to that later. AD had an awful game. He had, I want to say, 7 rebounds or something.
He had
He
really
got
had
11
out
points.
rebounded. He got out rebounded by Looney, and he played triple the minutes Looney played.
Yep. And he had, I think, 10. I don't even know if he had 10.
He had 11 points
Yeah.
and 4 assists with like 3 blocks and a steal.
11 points, 4 assists. Yeah, okay.
It's not enough.
While LeBron is having a great first half, trying to keep him in, couldn't. D'Lo was kind of mid. He had a couple nice shots. Should have found a couple plays. But as Anthony Davis, you're not hitting your shots, right? You gotta find something else to do. You can't just keep on shooting until it goes in. Man, get in the paint. You're pulling in everyone because you're the biggest guy on the court. Pulling the defense, kick it out. You got a couple good shooters on your team.
And the Lakers were starting JaMychal and Draymond Green. AD's got to feast in that situation. I mean, Draymond Green's a generational defender, but AD's like 6 inches taller than him. He's got to do something
And
about that.
I don't know if y'all noticed this, but the Lakers or Anthony Davis and LeBron, that game I think had the laziest defense they've had like throughout the entire playoffs. They were just standing. They would stand on the blocks, and as you know, Golden State, you cannot help on inside because they're just gonna shoot,
Mhm.
and that's exactly what Klay Thompson did. He killed the Lakers on the 3-point line. Curry had a couple nice shots, and Wiggins had a few, and JaMychal Green had one of the best performances he's had in a while. You just can't let that happen. Anthony Davis, LeBron are the best players on that team. You have to show the younger guys, D'Lo, Austin Reeves, those guys. You gotta, be quick. You gotta not help every time because you have Anthony Davis. Like if you have Anthony Davis, he can help every once in a while. LeBron, I don't think should be helping too often. He should be sticking on his man because he's starting into a couple nice buckets on him. But I think that was a lack of responsibility and hustle on the 2 stars.
Yeah, I definitely saw that as well. There's a couple plays where people just drove right by LeBron, or he just stood there. But I also want to talk about Rui. He's been freaking amazing in these playoffs. He's made him a ton of money, and he had like I want to say 16 in the first half. I'm not too
LeBron?
sure what. No, Rui.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm not too sure what he finished with, but
He was like
finished
3
with
for
21.
threes
Finished
at
21.
half too. He was feeling himself.
Yeah, he was doing really well. And that's also a game that you can't waste from Rui.
Yeah.
But there was just no production much else from anyone. Austin Reeves looks like he's laboring out there. Hey, he's not moving badly, but he's just short in all his shots. I'm not sure if
Uh,
it's fatigue or injury or I don't know. And
Austin Reeves, he really kind of makes me mad. His defense, he's not very good at defense, as we saw. He let Clay shoot on, even though Clay, don't get me wrong, is a great shooter, but he didn't know how to get around a screen, which, as we've seen, Vanderbilt has somewhat of an issue, but he gets around like 2, 3 screens at once, and he somehow sticks with him. And yes, Vanderbilt is a top defender in the league, but Reeves got to get around at least one every couple times. And if he can't play defense, or he's never really been able to, but if he can't play offense either, which is his main production, what his best attribute is, take him out. He's
No,
not
who are you going to
doing
take him out
anything.
for though?
Put
You know?
Ruby in, I don't know, just play big ball at that point. Because Ruby, I feel like every time
But-
they've played him, they've had better games.
I think in that case too, the Warriors would also feast because they would just run. The Warriors when they play big, they can't keep up with the Lakers when they play big, they can't keep up with the Warriors guards. Obviously, offensively, the Lakers would have an advantage, but defensively, I think it would be a struggle. Anyway,
But
there.
I think that's a thing we talked about also early on in one of the other podcasts is you got to adjust as a coach. You got to figure out, who's the guy. Maybe put Malik Beasley because sometimes he will go off at scoring and he'll just score lights out. I don't know. You got to test it out because offering is really not doing it.
Personally, I like Schroeder or Lonnie Walker as a replacement if they need
Oh
to
yeah,
replace Reeves.
sure.
Because Schroeder, he knows what he's doing. He's normally pretty good for him too. And I think Lonnie Walker, he played before Beasley came. He was doing pretty good. Beasley came, they stopped playing him. I think at this point, Beasley, he's had so many bad games, you might as well try playing Lonnie again too. See what works. Maybe he's more
Yeah.
consistent. Maybe he helps
I
the
think
team more.
Schroeder would have been the best option.
But
I'm
I like
excited to
Schroeder a
see-
lot too.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what adjustments Darvinham makes because I feel like he hasn't needed to make a ton of adjustments. I feel like he hasn't shown much as a coach. It's kind of just been
been a
LeBron's
chill,
excellence or
laid
AD's
back
excellence.
kinda
Yeah,
coach.
I feel like he hasn't done much to impact the team. He still plays one in great Gabriel, which I think he's freaking horrible. Anyway, I would love to. I'm excited to see what adjustments he makes and if he could keep up with Steve Kerr. But let's move on to a different series now. Let's talk about Denver and Phoenix. So Phoenix won last night after a monumental effort from KD and Book. There was a little bit of drama with DeAndre Ayton. He got benched in the fourth quarter for Jock Landale, which was the right decision. Jock Landale was playing really, really well. But I think that's going to be the only game they get. If you need that sort of game from Book and KD and no one else is really giving you offensive production. They played TJ Warren finally, which was nice. He got a couple buckets, Terrence Ross too, but ultimately I just don't think they have enough right now, especially without Chris.
Well, the interesting is they won without Chris Paul, but they also had Devin Booker who scored 47 points and he was 20 for 25 field goals, which is honestly impressive for him. And then KD had 39 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. So he played pretty smart. He was 12 for 31 field goals, which is not horrible or not too great, which is a heck of a game.
Pretty bad.
But I highly doubt they're going to perform like that ever again. D-Book, although, has been performing somewhat like that all series, all playoffs.
He's got those young legs though.
He's been absolute bonkers. But also look on the Nuggets side. Jokic, 30 points, 17 assists, 17 rebounds. That's the guess Deacon should have made right now. This series is at 35. That'd be more close now. And then Jamal Murray had 32 points with 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and shooting 13 for 29 field goals. And that's a heck of a performance by Murray and Jokic. While Porter Jr. actually also showed up. He had a double-double with 21 points.
Nasty dunk on
So
KD.
that shows you, I don't think if the Suns will not perform like that again. They won by 7. And I think that just shows that the Nuggets are going to take the series, and they're already up 2-1 in the series, which does
Yeah.
not help.
I think if anything, this game it didn't give me more confidence in the Nuggets, but it made me more sure that the Nuggets would win this series. Because if you need that type of
Yeah.
performance to beat the Nuggets, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
Or at least
especially
I
with a
highly
close
doubt
game.
it. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Marvin?
Yeah, and then I mean, I will say the Nuggets, if you can have Jokic, Murray, and Porter get 20, 30 points each game, that's going to be amazing for you. Aaron Gordon only got 9. He's been pretty good this series too. But yeah, I mean, if you need 47 points from one player and 39 from another one, and one of them shot 80% from the field, that's a heck of a game. And I'm sorry, but that's not going to happen twice in a row or 2 times in 4 games. He's not
Yeah.
going to shoot 80% again for multiple games, I'm sure.
Yeah, but
Like, that's just
he's hit
mind blowing.
a good amount of 40-point games or like 35+ point games already this playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but
KD with that 39 came out of nowhere.
I
He
mean,
got
he's
to the
KD,
line a
though.
lot. Yeah.
He's
But
KD
he,
too.
he hasn't done that yet this
Yeah,
postseason. He looks tired
yeah.
out there. It
Playoffs.
doesn't. I
Well,
mean,
Yeah,
he's playing way too many
you,
minutes,
you could
and
tell he's
that's a
getting
product
old.
of that's a product of the Suns' depth. He can't play those type of minutes anymore, or at least not in what is it, 7 games they've played in the playoffs now? No, 8. Anyway, I can't
8.
count. Yeah. I mean, 8 straight games playing 40+ minutes is just too much.
Yeah, because I think. Well,
Go ahead, finish.
Okay. Yeah, I think with Booker too, right? He might score 30, 40 points a game, but if you're missing more shots, that means you're giving the Nuggets more opportunities to score back as well. And I think that's part of the problem too. Even if Booker scores 47 again, he's not going to shoot on 80%. He's going to miss 5, 10 more shots, which means the Nuggets have a higher chance of getting that rebound and then scoring on the other end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll
Um,
be. Go ahead.
What I was gonna say was Aiton played 26 minutes. I just saw this. He had 9 rebounds, not too bad, but he had 0 assists.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
playing big, man, you got to facilitate the ball, find your guys. That's exactly what Jokic is. That's why he got 17 assists, you know. And Okogie only played 10 minutes, but he had 0 assists. Payne had 6. It just shows you the lack of passing on the team,
I mean,
especially without Chris Paul. Like,
yeah, I mean, DeAndre Ayton has been really disappointing these playoffs. In particular, he just looks like an ordinary big man. I mean, if he wasn't the first overall pick and didn't have a max contract, he would be the same. I feel like the same caliber player as a Zubac or something like that. You know, I don't think he'd be
Jack
considered.
Langdale performed better than him.
Yeah,
And he had less minutes. He's someone that I don't really consider too great of a player, but he had a heck of a game.
hustle.
Did better than him. You can't let that happen.
Obviously, Ayton. It'll be interesting to see how that progresses, but let's move on to the final series, Celtics 76ers. I predicted the Celtics in 5 after game 1 that wasn't looking great, but after these past 2 games, I think I'm even more confident that the Celtics are just better. They just have too many good players. Harden has to be better. I mean, he's been horrible. Besides game 1, Maxey has to shoot better. Yeah, I mean, I just don't think the Sixers' main scorers aren't doing enough, and you can't get away with that against the Celtics.
I'm gonna go here, Marvin. Harden, he did not have a great shooting performance. He ended up doing pretty well. He had 16 points, but 8 of them came off free throws, which is not a great look. He did have 11 assists, 6 rebounds. Maxey did not have a great game either. He was 4 for 16 field goals for 13 points. Joel, he had 3 assists. He did have 30 points. He had 13 rebounds, shot 9 for 19 field goals. But they've lost every game with him. I know Harden in the game they won performed insane, had 45, but also everyone else performed better because I think they get the ball more, as you can see. Let me check how many total assists they had. They had 21 total assists as a team. That is very, very low. And Joel in game 2, I think he had like 5 rebounds. It
Yeah, I
was-
mean, game 2, he was
let me
definitely just
check.
super rusty. He did not look. I mean, he looked fine physically, but not mentally or his game wise. He was missing easy
And
looks.
Paul Reed has gotten more rebounds than Joel in both games Joel's played. Paul Reed got 16 rebounds in the first game. Joel has not gotten that at all yet. His
He's
highest is
also
13.
scoring 30 points. So
Yep.
in
But
one game.
they won in the first game
yeah, he's
because
only
everyone
put-
else also performed to the ability that
Exactly.
they can.
And if you can't do that, they're not going to win the series with James Harden scoring. I mean, he's shown these past 2 games he's not really capable of it. Tyrese Maxey has to shoot better. If you can't perform next to a star when you're not good enough to be that guy, then it's unacceptable.
Yeah. I think you guys are gonna think I'm crazy. But looking at numbers too, I think it would be very interesting. Probably blow half the world's mind if the Sixers started looking for a Joel trade. Listen. During the season, Joel missed 16 games. Their offense statistically was better. Their defense statistically was also better. They averaged more points and didn't allow as many points without Joel Embiid. And then imagine they already won. They showed what they can do with just Joel sitting. Imagine what you can get back for him too, though.
I'm interested.
You can make mind-blowing moves, and you can
Okay.
actually make the Sixers.
I'm gonna stop you.
I'm not saying Joel's bad. I know he got MVP. He's a phenomenal player, but I don't think he's the right fit, and they're not using him right.
So you're not going to get a player Joel's caliber by trading Joel, unless someone wants out. But I don't see that happening. So also, it's not just about the regular season record or anything. You're not winning a playoff series unless you have Joel Embiid on your roster, against a good team at least. You need an elite scorer, you need an elite defender, and he's both of those. And when it gets down to the nitty gritty, he's going to bring you home. James Harden's not going to do that. I know he did it 1 game, but that's 1 freaking game. And he's shown in the past 2 games that he can't replicate that. And he's shown in the playoffs in general he can't replicate that. So unless you're getting a player that's also Embiid's caliber, there's no scenario unless you trade him.
You said the nitty-gritty. Have you seen the way Joel Embiid falls when he gets touched? Do you think he's nitty and gritty all the time?
No, when it gets to the clutch time, you need someone to get you a bucket. Joel Embiid's going to get you a bucket.
If you don't have Joel Embiid and James Harden knows he can, like, you want him to score, he can get that bucket. Maxey can get that bucket. Harris can get
But they
that bucket.
don't. They've
Because Joel always has the
Harden
ball. They
has.
don't.
Harden
they
got
can't
45
get
points
hot.
in the first
They
game.
can't
because
get
Joel averages 33 a game,
Because they give him the ball all the time.
and he scores on a crazy efficient rate. At a crazy efficient rate.
I'm just saying
And
it's something to consider.
and he's one of the best rim defenders in the NBA.
I'm just saying
What
I
was
think it could be
the
really interesting
win
and make
loss?
the Sixers legit contenders.
Unless you're getting Giannis back, I'm not doing that trade. I mean, unless it's like Jokic, but unless you're getting a player that's the same caliber, there's no reason
You
for you
also
to
have
do
to
the
think
trade.
if it makes him better or not. You can't just say, "Oh, he's a superstar. We're not trading him."
Yeah, it doesn't make them better.
But
Unless
they
you're
play
getting
better
back
without him.
Giannis.
They play better without him.
In 1 game in the playoffs, and the
In
regular
16
season clearly
games
doesn't
over
matter.
the whole
The Heat were the
season.
8 seed, and they just stomped on the Bucks.
In 16 games in the regular season, they were
The
better.
regular. Okay, I get that, but regular season doesn't matter when it comes playoff time. Those
They
situations
won
because
a
you
game
get to
without Joel.
scout
They
the
haven't
same
beat
team.
that team
You get
with
to
him.
scout the same team for 7 games. You get to play them every game, make adjustments, and when you need a player that can beat those adjustments no matter what, and Joel is that type of guy. No one else on the Sixers is.
They're 1-2 against the Celtics, and Joel didn't play the game they won.
All right, let's move on. Stupid.
I'm just saying it's something to look at, and I think it could be really interesting.
Okay.
Like I said, it'd probably blow the world's mind, and it won't happen. But I think it could be super interesting.
I mean, it would for sure be interesting if it happened. but I don't see any scenario in which it happens. So let's move on to talking about the eliminated teams. I want to start with Atlanta because they had a really interesting series with Boston. Lost in 6. They showed a lot of promise. Trae Young looked good. DeJounte looked good in some games. I have a lot of hope for Atlanta in terms of what they're building. They're still a couple pieces away. So I think what they should do this offseason is just stand pat unless another star comes along. What do you think?
I agree. I think the potential is definitely there. They looked a lot better after they got comfortable with Quinn Snyder, who was just barely hired before the play-in and playoffs. And they looked pretty good in those games too. They took 2 against the Celtics, which I don't think many people saw coming either. I just think they look a lot nicer with Snyder, and they took a little bit to get used to a system. But I agree with I think they have plenty of potential. Um, get everyone to work. I think Trae Young is playing a better game of basketball too. So I think they have a lot going for him next season though. I think Quinn Snyder is someone they should keep at least for now and keep playing with how they performed with him so far.
Yeah, Valentine. Valentine.
You go ahead. I need to.
Okay. Can you collect your thoughts? Yeah. So in terms of, I agree with everything you just said. I like Trae Young moved a little bit off ball with Quinn Snyder, which is I think a step in the right direction. Putting the ball more into DeJounte's hand at times. I mean, I think they just played better basketball when Quinn Snyder was there, especially in the playoffs. They were competitive with the Celtics, pretty much every game. I think what they do need is another wing defender or another wing scorer as well. The Clippers already said they wouldn't be available, but a guy like a Paul George, I think, would be really valuable to this team. Just another vet as well. But as someone like that, someone that could provide the same impact offensively and defensively. So let's move on then. Does anyone have any more thoughts to add on the Hawks? No. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about Cleveland then. Obviously they got whoops in the playoffs. Their depth was severely lacking. They struggled to score, obviously. They really only have 2 guys that can create their own shots effectively, and that's Garland and Mitchell. LeVert sometimes, but he's super inefficient. So I think the main thing they're missing is obviously depth, but just another wing scorer, kind of like the Hawks.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, just the score in general. They
Mhm.
averaged 94.6 points in the playoffs against in the 5 games that they played
Yeah.
against the Knicks, which, like we said, they don't have enough scores, and that clearly shows. And in the regular season, they did score more. They scored 112, but that was 25th in the league. So they were
Yeah.
bottom 5 scoring already, and then they got a lot worse playing the Knicks in the playoffs. So yeah, they need to figure things out. I think. I think they definitely could have a lot of potentially interesting trades uh going on, or possibly free agent signings or let goes during the offseason. So I think the Cavs could be a very interesting team to just keep an eye on during the offseason to see what they do, whether it's coaching staff or players. So I think that'll be really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What do you think?
I'm a huge Cavs fan, and I think we need to get rid of Donovan Mitchell. He does not fit in with them. He was gone before Donovan came, was a scorer, a playmaker. He had everything else he needed. You get rid of Donovan and Jared Allen. Use Mobley maybe at the center. Maybe try things out with that. Get a big and a guard out of it. I was kind of thinking Bridges and Claxton. That would maybe be an interesting trade. But I think they could look into trading both of them. in some way
So
of
I'm
sort
I'm
this
with you with the
offseason.
Jared Allen thing. I don't think they should get rid of him yet. But I'm with you that eventually I think Mobley should be the 5. But we'll see if Mobley can eventually extend out to the 3-point line. Because if so, then might as well keep Jarrett. But also, you're smoking crack if you think the Cavs should trade Donovan Mitchell. I mean, so Donovan Mitchell did not have a good playoffs at all, but he was like him and Darius are the only 2 players that can create their own shot. So I think that was part of the problem of Donovan not trying to facilitate much in the playoffs because no one else was hitting any shots, which I think they could use a guy like a Gordon Hayward or someone like that to take the pressure off Donovan and Darius, create their own shot, create stuff for others, but also, I mean, you can't just rely on 2 guys to win you a playoff series. That's never been the case. We saw that last year, or with the Jazz. Donovan always had a guy like Joe Ingles, Mike Conley, Ricky Rubio, guys that like a Royce O'Neal even. He's not even that bad of a facilitator or ball handler, but he always had another guy that could create, or a couple other guys that could create, and that could set him up. And he really only has one in Cleveland. So I think you hold off on the Donovan Mitchell slander, or you could slander him, but you hold off on drawing up Donovan Mitchell trades. I think you stick it out with that core for sure. At a wing, obviously, see how
You
it
can get
works.
so many better players that fit with the Cavs.
Well, the
instead
other
of
interesting thing too
Donovan.
is I was comparing the Cavs season this season and last season. They got worse at literally everything this season. Was that Donovan Mitchell directly? Was that just the fact of what they lost for Donovan Mitchell? I don't know. But it's definitely interesting because they did not improve in a single category this season. They decreased in every category after getting an all-star player for Lauri Markkanen, who now is also an all-star player, who they clearly didn't see that coming. Who knows if it would have happened if he stayed there? But I think it's interesting that they got Donovan Mitchell for a few pieces and they literally got worse at everything except for assists. And I think that's a problem because you got to figure out why are you getting worse from getting an all-star?
Well, I think it's just the lack of depth, kind of like with the Suns, with the Lakers last year. If you don't have depth, you're not going to be good in this league, and that's just something you got to work your way around with. And the Cavs were never supposed to win anything this year. Trading for Donovan Mitchell was never a win now move. It was always win now, obviously. We'll get to the playoffs, but also build for the future. You got guys like Mobley and Jerry Scarlin that are still improving. Even Isaac Okoro could improve. But yeah, I think the Cavs are just fine. Adding another wing, I think, could be helpful. Some more bench pieces, another big. But besides that, I think they should stand pat.
Could be interesting though because they could get depth from trading Mitchell as well. But I don't think they're gonna do it.
Yeah,
But I see his point. I see both points, honestly. I see both sides though. Donovan's young, Darius is young, Mobley's young. They have a pretty young core. I mean, even Allen's not super old, but
Yeah.
he's been in the league longer.
I don't think you
but it
can
could be
react to
interesting.
one playoff series, especially when Donovan Mitchell historically is a great playoff performer. Darius Garland didn't have a good playoffs. Jared Allen didn't have a good playoffs. Evan Mobley didn't have a good playoffs. Their whole core did not have a good playoffs. I don't think you could just put that on Donovan. All right, so next we'll talk about I'm gonna talk about Milwaukee. They just fired Mike Budenholzer. So one step in the right direction. According to what
Us.
we believed what should happen, and the Bucks apparently. But so in terms of coaching, what direction should they go? And in terms of roster moves, what do you think they should do, Marvin?
I'm gonna go.
Oh, you want to go?
Yeah. I'm blanking on the dude's name. The Raptors coach.
Nick Nurse.
Yep, that guy.
Yeah.
Would fit in perfectly the Bucks.
I agree.
I just feel like he would know how to use every single one of those players correctly. Giannis, Drew Holiday, Middleton, Lopez, Allen. Just all the guys.
Grayson
I think
Allen's gone.
fit best Or he would fit best for him. I
Yeah,
wouldn't see anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think there's any coach out on the market that's better than Nick Nurse. So I think that's
Steve
definitely the
Nash.
direction they should go. Steve Nash. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't mind them going that direction. In terms of I'll let Marvin go. What coach do you think they should go after?
I think if they run it back with the team they have right now or a very similar team, I do think Nick Nurse would be the best as well. But obviously, I've heard some rumors that they might get rid of a few older guys. So I think with that, it would depend on just kind of what their new roster looks like. But if they plan to stay bigger, I think Nick Nurse would be a great coach for them as well.
Yeah. So
You know
yeah.
what?
Go ahead.
You know what I think would be awesome? Get Becky Hammond.
I
That'd
heard
be fun.
she might go back to the NBA. Actually, I did hear some rumors that
Uh,
she might look for an
She
NBA
won
coaching
her
job.
first year in the WNBA.
So that could be
Why
that would
not?
interesting.
that would definitely be interesting. I think who was it? I think it was the Pistons that were
It's the Pistons that are interested in her.
interviewing her. Yeah. So we'll see how that
Even
goes.
though I do like the Pistons coach, he could maybe fit with the Bucks.
Well,
Wingate.
he moved
Oh yeah,
up in
yeah,
the Pistons though.
yeah.
He didn't get fired.
I know, but
He
I
got a
love him.
promotion.
I think he's a great coach.
Yeah. Maybe we could get Brad Stevens from the Celtics, but I would definitely love an opportunity for Hammond. I think she's one of the better coaches in the league, but
Not in the league.
I'm not going to say it's because she's a woman, but I think teams are going to hesitate to hire Becky Hammond just because, well, one, she's inexperienced. Two, we don't know how she would relate to the players. There's a lot that goes into it. I think she'd be a great coach though. And when she
Yeah.
coached in the summer league, they won the summer league championship. So that's something.
Well, the other interesting thing too is right. She's off the Greg Popovich tree too. I think more than half the coaches in the league at this point are off the Greg Popovich tree. So, just saying, might be a good sign too, though.
For sure. So also let's talk about the roster moves that they are bound to make or might make. Who knows? So Chris Middleton and Brooke Lopez are both free agents. Both are pretty old. Both are going to want big money. You're probably only going to be able to bring one of them back unless one of them wants a pay cut or I don't know. What direction do you think they should go, or should they not bring back either?
That's tough.
I say sign Chris Middleton. We've already kind of talked about this in another one. He has more team chemistry with Giannis and Holiday
Mhm.
and Portis for the forever more than Lopez.
Yeah.
And I think it's time for Bobby Portis to start. And that's just all I'm going to say.
Even if you don't start Bobby Portis, I think you could slide Giannis to the center. I've always wanted him
Maybe
to
give
play the center, but
Marjon
obviously
Beauchamp a little more playing time.
Oh
Maybe.
yeah.
He's a
maybe
good defender. I don't know.
he's definitely
Just test things out.
yeah. I mean I think this is an exciting opportunity for Milwaukee. I mean obviously it's not exciting to lose round one when you were the best team in the NBA, but kind of address what's been wrong with them. I mean, so Mike Budenholzer was on the brink of getting fired before they won the championship. Then he got extended. Everything seemed wonderful in Milwaukee, and then obviously this happens. I think it's just great to hit a reset button. They haven't been very successful in the playoffs besides the championship. I think it's the right time for a move and also a change in the roster. I mean, we've seen. I think we've seen the limit, and obviously, it was a year in which they had several things go their way in the playoffs. I'm not that happens to every champion, but I think in the Bucks case it was more evident, and so I just don't think that roster as built is going to be guaranteed playoff success every year, especially with we've seen how teams guard Giannis, like the Milwaukee particularly, they just hacked him and he couldn't hit his free throws. So I think if you get more guys that can create their own shot, bring back Middleton give Marjon Beauchamp a chance, maybe. I don't know. I think it's an
Yeah.
exciting opportunity for Milwaukee.
Yep, I agree.
I
Anything
agree.
else?
The thing though too is if I'm reading this right, the Bucks have 5 draft picks this season.
Really?
Says if I understand it right, it says 2 firsts and 3 seconds. If that is the case, they're either going to need to trade some of those, or they're going to have to make some roster spots for some new guys as well, which could lead to potential trades or non-signings. And Middleton, Carter's a player option as well. I think they probably look to keep Carter though. He's younger. He's shown he can play when he needs to step up. But I think that could be very interesting if that is correct how I'm reading that. And moves that they would have to make.
Yeah, I think I don't know what you're looking at, but what I'm looking at says they have 1 draft pick. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. It might just be the ones they've had and then given away too.
um, but yeah, I think investing some of your future capital to bring another guy would be enticing. I think one guy that I would love in Milwaukee is Bradley Beal. There's been some rumblings that not grumblings, rumblings that he is dissatisfied in Washington.
I think we're doing that for.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if anything's going to change, but I think that's my dream destination for Bradley Beal. I don't know how. Go ahead.
If they do have 5 picks this year, there's a guy that I've seen.
They have one.
I'll
Malcolm,
try trading up for him. They do have one, but I'll still try
Yeah.
trading up for him. He's from Duke, the center from Duke.
Oh, Derek
He's
Lively.
one of the most hustling players you'll ever see. He dives on the floor. He'll do anything it takes to get that ball, and I think he would maybe fit in well and learn from Giannis, Bobby, and those greats. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think that's a guy they should maybe.
that'd be interesting. He reminds me of Nick Claxton kind of. I
Yeah,
watched a couple games of him. So yeah, that'd be interesting. He may be there by the time they pick. I don't know, or they may have to trade up.
he's
We'll
gonna be
see.
in the top 12, I think.
Really, I
Yeah,
could
he's
see
pretty
it
high.
honestly. I could see him making that jump after we've seen the impact that guys like Nick Claxton have had.
That's what I
Um,
saw in a mock draft, though. I really
yeah.
don't know.
I mean, he's just a big, athletic, quick, big, and yeah. So we'll see.
Hustler.
So I want to move on to Nick Claxton's team, Brooklyn. Obviously they got spanked in the playoffs this year, but I think they have a really good foundation for something. I think my preferred thing to do for them is to trade for a star guard like a Dame, or if Trae Young does
Yeah.
become available, one of those guys.
I think
Just a guy that could guide this young group of wings.
Yeah, I don't think Dinwiddie's a guy. No offense to Dinwiddie. I love Dinwiddie. I think he's a pretty good player. But I think he has to go, and I think they need a stronger, like you said, older guy. I can show him a little bit. Because Mikal Bridges came there somewhat halfway through the season, went off. I think he'll do it again next season. Nick Claxton doing great. Finney Smith is pretty good. And I think they just need to get a little more in depth. Also, I think they're lacking a little bit of depth. But I think point guard is the main issue, and Finney is starting, right? Finney Smith.
Yeah.
I think maybe get a little more solid of a power forward or something like that. That's all.
Yeah, they have.
I wouldn't really change too much of them. They're a great team.
Yeah, they have Finney and Royce at power forward, but I think overall, I wouldn't even say depth is necessarily the problem. I think it's just mainly experience. Um, just playoff experience and NBA experience in general. Uh, they're all like we said, Mikal Bridges, he was great in the regular season with them. Kind of fell off a little bit in the playoffs. I think part of that might have just been the role that he was given in such a short time in the playoffs as well. I mean, it's his first time. You can't get mad at him for. I mean, he still did good. It's not like he didn't play well. He just didn't play as everyone expected.
Yeah.
But I think that's fine. I think, yeah, I agree they shouldn't move too much. Maybe do a few smaller trades, maybe trade Dinwiddie or something like that, right? But I think overall they're in pretty good shape for the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah.
They got 7 with really changing a lot from Katie, Kyrie, doing the covers. I think they have a good future ahead of them.
Yeah, so unless we have anything else to add on the Nets, I think we have a consensus that they just need another
They just need to keep
an
playing.
experienced vet, another PG to kind of
Yeah.
guide them. So let's move on to the West then. I want to talk about Minnesota first. Because they had I think I kind of liked what I saw from them in the playoffs, particularly on Ant Edwards. He was absolutely fantastic. Gobert was solid. Cat was disappointing. I think their other guy, obviously they had no Jaden McDaniels, but I think what they need to focus on this year is getting bench depth, more wings, maybe a backup point guard, and also I mean, I don't know if this is as ridiculous or as a hot take as trading Embiid, but I think they should move on from Cat. He has shown year in year out that he as that he shrinks in the playoffs. He is a defensive liability. He doesn't fit with Gobert. No one's going to take on Gobert. Cat still has some value. I
Yeah.
think it would also give them some future flexibility. So what do y'all think?
I agree. I was actually going to say the same thing about Cat. I think it's time to move on. He just doesn't perform the way you want him to in the playoffs, and they're not trading um Rudy Gobert just because of what they gave away from him. They're not going to give up on him that fast.
Yeah.
Um, and like we said, he shrinks in the playoffs. He's too much of a liability at the 4, especially when you have Rudy Gobert at the 5. You don't have enough perimeter defense at least, and
Yeah.
just moving around and everything. So I think you're right with that with cat trades, and that can help them get a few more wings. And Ant, amazing player. All credit to him for the way he played in the playoffs. Absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. Enjoyed it. Made me sad how quickly they were eliminated and how they only got so far, and he had absolutely like no support in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But he balled, and I love Anthony Edwards. He
Yeah.
was amazing.
So in a potential Karl-Anthony Towns trade, what kind of player do you think they should target?
Like you said, like I said, I think kind of just some guards. I don't know if I necessarily have any specific players in mind right now, but definitely some wings. Possibly someone to put ahead of Conley and have Conley coming
Yeah.
off the bench.
I don't think Conley
But
is
like I said, no specific
working
player really.
starter.
Go
I
ahead,
think
Dante.
so Cat straight away. Rudy Gobert, I'd maybe like put him on the trade block, just be like kind of be looking a little bit, but not too worried about that. That'd be like an aside thing.
Mhm.
But really mainly look at Cat. And then I would try to get a point guard out of it. Like once I put Conley off the bench. He is not worthy of his starter position. Even though he had a heck of a playoff game or playoff series.
Well, I think he's
But
worthy
also
of. Sorry, I think he's worthy of starting, but not on the Timberwolves.
not
I mean, I he's a good point
yeah.
guard, but when you don't have another guy that
Yeah.
can create, I don't think he should be your secondary creator or anything.
Exactly.
And if he's not doing good, who's their bench guy? McLaughlin? He's terrible. You really don't want to put him in at certain situations. And they did play the #1 team, Nuggets. They're looking like they'll go to the Western Conference Finals, possibly the finals. And it's just a hard team to play against, even though you do have 2 great bigs, Rudy Gobert and Cat, which should have done a better job against him. But at the end of the day, they went against 2-time MVP, crazy Jamal Murray, and Ant had to do everything for the team.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
one of those-
So, like you said, I think they should prioritize another guard. I think they should also try to get just a good 4 out of it. Someone that can move. I mean, I think they're really missing Jared Vanderbilt. Another
Yeah.
elite defender to go alongside Jay McDaniels.
maybe get a DeMar DeRozan.
Maybe. I don't know. That would be
He's not
interesting.
too
Be
much of a
interesting.
power forward, but he's been playing power forward for the
And I
whole
mean,
season.
the reason why I didn't say too much about a power forward is because worst case scenario, if you get good guards, you just put Ant to small forward, depending on who you get, and McDaniel's at power forward. I mean, McDaniel's 6'9", he's got a good wingspan. Uh, so I think if you need to, you can do that as well. Uh, if
I
that helps
think
you
in
make a better trade
yeah.
for guards.
I think in general though, you don't want Ant at the 3. Just he's a
Or
really good
McDaniels
defender.
at the 4.
He's a really good defender, but he also is carrying almost the entire offensive load. So you don't want him extending all his energy on the
And I
defensive end,
think,
guarding someone
Well,
that's
yeah,
that
I
much
think
bigger than
small
him.
forward is also the strongest position right now in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or one, it's like the second or first strongest position.
Yeah.
in
Well,
my
that was the
opinion.
interesting thing too in the playoffs. So Edwards played offense and defense. He was great on both. He wasn't only offensive. He did both
But
by himself.
he was gassed, and
Oh yeah.
that was the issue in the 2020 finals with Jimmy Butler. He had to do everything, and at some point, it's gonna be hard for him to keep on doing that as it was for Jimmy Butler.
Yeah. But yeah, he has great potential for sure.
Yeah, so like I said, I think they should just prioritize and if they do trade Cat, I would do it for just more pieces that can, shoot the ball, defend, just so Cat's doesn't have the entire load on his back. Or if you're going to make him have the entire load, at least give him some shooters, So
Yeah.
I'm gonna move on to Memphis then because I mean they've been the clown show of the league the past couple weeks. Really, I mean I wouldn't say horrible playoff performance, but from a 2 seed, it's embarrassing losing to the 7th seed for sure. What do you want to say, Jonathan?
I'm gonna talk about the Grizzlies. So Dylan Brooks, have fun at Shanghai Sharks. No team's gonna sign you, pal. I'm sorry to say it.
I
You have
honestly I agree with that. I think he's right.
you have no advantages, like nothing good to bring to any team. You're not crazy at defense anymore, and that was your best attribute. You used to be good at shooting before you got injured. Terrible at shooting now. You can't hit a shot to save your life. You talk trash to LeBron James, the king. Of course he's gonna hit shots on you. Shoots 20 times a game. What do you expect? And he pisses off everyone. Man, I can't handle him. And then Steven Adams, I would look to maybe giving away. He's an all right center. He can't score really. He's mainly a rebounder, a bit defensive. He's very injury prone recently in the past 2 seasons. I would look to trading him.
Yeah, but we saw how much they missed him in these playoffs.
Yeah.
Obviously it sucks that he's always injured, but it's kind of like Kawhi and PG. You can't trade him because you're not going to get equal value for a guy like that. But yeah, I had a similar approach. Hope for a healthy Steven Adams. And also I think they should add a vet at the 3, someone who's not gonna, call LeBron old and washed. Light a flame under pretty much the entire team. Just a guy that can score. I thought about a guy like OG Anunoby. I think there was talks that the Grizzlies were trying to trade for him before the trade deadline. Just a solid guy that can play good defense and shoot the ball. Just I don't know, someone solid like that. I mean, they're just missing a 4th guy on this offense,
Yeah.
and
As much as I love Tillman, he did do great, but I do think he is the secondary center for most teams.
well, he should have been the 3rd center because Brandon Clark was also injured. So
yeah, but he had a great game. You cannot take that away
He
from him.
did.
He
Oh, yeah.
averaged like 10 plus rebounds every game against Anthony Davis, which have to give him great credit. He stepped up to the plate. He is normally the 3rd center after Brandon Clark, and he did his job perfectly for taking that position. So if you get a good center, maybe get Cat back, or not back, but get Cat back into the position as a center for Steven Adams. You got Tillman as a secondary, and I'd put Clark as a power forward. That's what I would do.
I agree with Tillman. He definitely performed to what he was expected to. I mean, 8.5 points
It
and
was
eight
more than
rebounds.
expected. Come on.
Eight and a half
It-
points. Yeah, well, I'm saying he wasn't like a great player, and he wasn't expected to be a great player. He was expected to just take the role of center. That's what he did. He averaged 8.5 points with 8 rebounds and 3 assists. Against Anthony Davis, he definitely. I mean, you only expect so much out of him, anyways. I've heard rumors and reports about Steven Adams being put on the trade block so that they can start Brandon Clark. And Steven Adams, he only had an unhealthy season this season. He played 76 games last season, only 42 this season because of his knee about like halfway through the season. And he never returned to the court as he had to get a few more things done that weren't expected. But I have heard that he will probably be on the trade block just so they can start Clark at center. So the return for that, I'm not exactly sure what the return will look like, honestly. I don't know if teams or how much they're willing to give up for him, you know? And then I'm not exactly sure what teams would look at him too much, you know? I mean, honestly, maybe the Suns might look at him, or I think they should. Uh, Aiton is not the guy, like we said earlier. He's clearly
Yeah,
not
but
the guy, at least not yet.
if you're
Um,
the
And
Grizzlies, are you trying to take back DeAndre Ayton in that trade?
I'm not saying that necessarily, but I'm just saying for teams like that would look for him anyways. I mean, they might trade something else because, like I said, I don't even know if the Grizzlies are looking for a center in return. They want to
Yeah.
start Clark at center. So that'll be interesting.
I just looked at it. You do not want Brandon Clark to start. He is 6'8". He will not rebound over any center. I don't think. That's why I said put him at backup power forward over or under Jaren Jackson because he will get absolutely killed under the boards.
Yeah,
That's
but
bad. He's 6'8".
he also has elite athleticism. Well, we assume he still has elite athleticism.
Yes.
Obviously he tore his Achilles, so that's unfortunate. He may not even be ready for next season. We'll see. But yeah, I agree. Looking for just a big that's reliable, I think would be tremendously helpful. All right, let's move on and talk about the Clippers. So they have, I think, the most interesting decision to make this offseason. They already said that they're not looking to trade Kawhi and PG. I disagree. But at the end of the day, you gotta deal with that they're going to keep them. So what can you do to build around them is my thought process. I think an absolute necessity is to re-sign Westbrook. He's a free agent. He's going to look to get a lot of money, and he's going to be out for a lot of money. Can the Clippers afford him is a big question, but we'll see. What else do you think they should do besides that?
I'm gonna go. Keep Russ, keep PG, trade Kawhi. He's not the
Okay,
superstar you want.
besides trading Kawhi RPG, because that's just not happening.
Because they said they're not going to trade Kawhi
He's
PG, or
not
at
a
least they're not looking
superstar.
at it.
He's not a star
This
or
year.
superstar anymore. If he gets hurt all the
Yeah,
time, how can he be a superstar?
that's true. I mean, that's a good argument, but
What did he get hurt with again? And against the Suns?
torn meniscus.
He was also hurt, not playing for another reason, but
Yeah.
I just think you can't have him on your team. You're giving him a bunch of money for absolutely no reason right now. He sucks. Or he
Okay.
doesn't suck. He's actually good when
he
he
does
plays.
not suck. When he
He's
plays,
rare
he's
when
an
he plays.
absolute baller. He
Yeah.
can play the game.
It's top 5.
But will he play the game? Is the question.
Yeah, I think that's the main issue, and maybe get because Plumlee and Zubac they're like mid centers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't like Zubac.
I don't either.
Yeah, another thing I wrote down is adding a versatile big. Someone like, I don't know, like Miles Turner. Yeah, he just got extended, so probably not
Well,
Miles Turner.
Nurkic is out in the free agency, right? This next or this coming.
No, he got extended.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah, so he's not free agent anymore. Nurkic would
Yeah,
be
but
interesting.
that'd be interesting. Maybe I don't know what their draft looks like, but maybe looking for someone young.
I think they have one first round pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing that's interesting about them, right? So if you want to keep Quine PG, I mean, you're clearly keeping them because you want them to play. Westbrook, I think would be a good re-sign as well. Who knows if that is possible or will happen. But I think overall, based off the last 3 seasons or whatever it's been now, honestly, they have a good team when they play. But honestly, either have the guys who are on the team right now have them practice more as leaders, so that way it'll be even easier for them to step up. So basically, instead of trying to build around them, try to still kind of build without them because based off the last few seasons, they're gonna miss plenty of games where you're gonna need your guys to step up. But that's
Mhm.
obviously a hard task, especially when you have those two guys with possibly a Westbrook as well. You only have so much money to to give around to possibly build around that. So it's a difficult situation. Obviously, best case scenario for them is they play 70 games
Yeah.
and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But that hasn't been the case.
No.
So it's an interesting kind of difficult situation for them, but
Yeah.
they said they want to keep Quine PG, so clearly they want them bad enough to try to deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's super interesting. What what they choose to do. But yeah, I don't see what much else you can do if you're gonna commit to keeping
Exactly.
He has a
Kawhi
torn
PG.
meniscus, which means he'll be out for a good beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Again, he's injured for a while. I'm just saying. It's just, gosh, he can't be healthy ever since he left the Spurs, or actually ever since
He wasn't
Zaga.
even healthy on this first, so
Ever since
Yeah.
Zaga.
yeah.
Well, the other interesting thing too is it's just so difficult because you don't know when he's playing. And then PG, I mean, honestly, I think if I remember right, the last 2 seasons he played like the first half or he played a good amount and then he got hurt at like the end of the season. And that's right when the playoffs and that's where it really matters.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you just want to
It,
try playing him less, but then at the
it
same
is
time that's
such a
kind of tough
tough
too.
situation for the
Yeah.
Clippers because Kawhi Leonard, when he plays, he's a top 5 player by far because his defense is top notch, his offense is top notch. He has everything you need.
Hmm.
It's the same case for PG. Or it's a worse version, but PG is
Similar
still
case.
insane, especially at offense. And he's still a really great defensive player, and he can
Yeah.
play make both of
Yeah.
them. They're just in a pickle, man. That's just all I have to say.
I mean, I would love to be in the Clippers position, but at the same time, I hate it because
Yeah.
you got your two superstars, but it's just not working.
Well, with
Um,
Westbrook, you even have debatably 3 really good superstars. Like
yeah, yeah. Well,
you
Westbrook's
have the
more
pieces.
and like a
I,
borderline
s-
all-star level player now, but yeah,
that's why I said debatably, but you have 3 really good players,
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and only one of them is a consistent play.
yeah. So and that's another reason why I think they absolutely have to resign Westbrook because he's shown that he could carry this team when they're out during the regular season and during the playoffs. He's going to have his bad games, but you'll never see him give up or have a poor effort, and that's what kind of rallies teams. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
resigning Westbrook is a necessity for sure.
Yeah, I'm
So
also
let's
surprised. I'm
go ahead.
surprised how quickly the Clippers said that they're not going to trade either one of them too, right? Like I'm surprised they didn't like give it some time, talk to the players, right? See what they want, see kind of how things will go, but they kind of like I mean, honestly, it was probably a few days after they got eliminated. They're like, yeah, no, we want to keep Kawhi and PG. Which I thought was kind of interesting. I thought they'd take a little bit longer and really try to like think about it and discuss it with each other, with them, with the team. So I thought that was kind of surprising as well, just how quickly they came out with that.
Yeah, but I mean, what you said about so Kawhi and PG are definitely going to want to stay because it's either that or get sent off to like Portland or something. It wouldn't be my first decision, but uh, yeah, it was weird. They didn't even test the waters at all. I don't know.
I mean, Portland though, if they keep gaming, that could be interesting if one of them goes to Portland. But obviously,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not happening.
But
But that could actually be pretty interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Sacramento now. I think this one's pretty simple, in my opinion. I know you guys have some different opinions. I think they should just stand pat, maybe look for a replacement for Harrison Barnes, if he decides to leave, which I think he probably will. That's the vibe that I feel like has been put out there. But yeah, looking for another good wing, I think is just the only thing I would do if I were them. I mean, they clearly have the offense to hang with the best of them. I think they just need guys to fill out the other tiny needs in order to fully make it to the championship level. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I agree with Harrison Barnes. Get him out. He's old. He's old. Although he's not as old as you would think he is, but he's still pretty old.
Yeah.
Um, I would start Malik Monk over her. I don't think her deserves that starting spot anymore. Monk has proven that he deserves that starting spot.
Yeah, but also you kind of want him coming off the bench because he's a spark plug type of guy.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know. They should maybe look into that. Kind of switch it up every few games. I think in this next season. And I know Deacon's not gonna like it. Because we've kind of discussed this before. I don't think Demontis Sabonis. I think he proved it all this playoffs that he needs to go. Maybe get Steven Adams and maybe someone else. Desmond Bain out of it too. I don't know. But that was just something I was just saying because we were talking about him.
Mhm.
But I think get some bonus out of here.
I don't think you're totally wrong. I wouldn't necessarily go to the extent of saying get him out of here, but I think testing the waters could be
I
a
mean, like just put him
very
on the trade block, see what
positive
teams
thing.
offer for him,
Exactly.
and then
That's
see
what
what
I'm saying.
happens.
Just put him on the trade block, kind of see maybe what you can get in return. But I don't think he's an automatic like, yeah, no, he needs to go. I think it's more of
Yeah,
a
yeah.
you either need to work
I
harder,
agree.
and he needs to learn how to finish non-dominant too. He literally would not even try it. And then rebounds too. I think just a little more hustle as well. But I think testing the waters for that could be a good move.
Obviously I disagree.
I could tell.
Yeah. Like I said with Donovan Mitchell, it's one playoff series. I don't think you could react. He's probably not good enough to be the far and away second best player on a championship team. But I think what also he does in terms of facilitating, he's a good rebounder. Obviously, he got rebounded by Looney, but who doesn't get rebounded by Looney? Out rebounded by Looney.
I was about to say, I mean, Looney got 23 rebounds in the same game. Anthony Davis got 23 rebounds. So
Yeah.
clearly, Looney can get rebounds. But just
Yeah.
in general, I feel like Sabonis didn't do
Yeah,
what
he kind
needed
of
to
got
do.
punked. He kind of got punked down low. Obviously he was beat up pretty bad too. But yeah, I mean Sabonis. I'm not at all saying Sabonis didn't play well because he didn't, but I think he was one of the main factors why you were in that position in the first place.
Yeah.
So I don't think I don't think. I mean, if the right trade comes along, sure, but I don't think you just trade him willy nilly for a guy like Steven Adams, who's good, but he's not going to provide the same impact as Domantas Sabonis.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of Sabonis's lack of play too was I think Draymond and Kevon getting all the rebounds and Draymond being Draymond probably kind of got to his head too because you could tell. I mean, he got frustrated with Draymond starting game one, and I mean that's what Draymond wanted at the end of the day. He succeeded in that. So I think that didn't help either because then he was kind of frustrated. He wasn't necessarily playing the way he normally does. He was playing more like I need to get this from you. Like more of in a payback kind of way. I feel like, but he wasn't even successful at that because he wasn't doing what he does. He just was trying too hard almost. And I think that probably too was part of the reason he didn't perform the way he should have.
I think he also needs to start taking those mid-range jumpers. I mean, he was giving them all series long, and I mean, he
And
took
he
a
can make
couple.
them too. I don't know
He
why he
did a
didn't,
couple.
honestly. He can
It's
make
just
them.
lack of confidence, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something to watch. Um, Any other thoughts to add?
No.
All right, well, that'll be it for today. Thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe, follow our Instagram. Thank you for watching. See y'all later.